Hi, I'm Charlie Brooker and you're watching Newswipe, a programme all about what's been going on. Like this. Sound of smashing glass drowned out by sound of snapping cameras. World leaders pose for photo with Obama like they're on a f***ing log flume ride. And, well, yeah, there you go. Anyway, we start here. If all the world's a stage, then TV news anchors are the Greek chorus, tying proceedings together with their dramatic narrative skills and stern sense of authority. TV news is theatre, essentially. It's showbiz. Modern news anchors have a background in journalism, but that wasn't always the case. It wasn't really until the late 70s that seasoned reporters started to become the main face of the BBC bulletins, faces we still recognise today. Most of the first newsreaders on the BBC really were news readers, not journalists. All they were required to do was turn up and read the script as clearly as possible. Thing is, they didn't really need to be anything more than lucid diction fact-checking machines, because all they were doing essentially was queuing up short pieces of film. They never had to throw live to a reporter in the field or interview a politician on air. Consequently, many of the familiar newsroom faces had side jobs, such as warm-throated dapper chap about London town Richard Baker here, who, when he wasn't telling us about Lieutenant William Kelly, who'd been convicted of killing 22 civilians in My Lai in South Vietnam.
Lieutenant William Kelly, who was convicted of killing 22 civilians in My Lai in South Vietnam.
Doubled as the narrator for charming, genteel, cardboard kiddie-wink cartoon Mary Mungo and Midge.
There's Mary. There's Mungo. And there's Midge, who was convicted of killing 22 civilians at My Lai in South Vietnam.
The two modes were kept entirely separate. There was the stern, neutral android mode for when you were presenting the news, and the chummy village hall gang show mode for the odd variety special. And then sometime in the early 80s that all changed, round about breakfast time. The BBC's Breakfast Time was the first news show with a cosy and some might say eerie welcome to our lovely home feel about it.
I'll be back with more local news, travel and weather in half an hour's time. Look forward to seeing you round about then. Bye for now.
In today's multi-channel world with competing news networks, an anchor's personality matters more than ever. While there used to be celebrities outside of the news, now they're stars within it. Some are famous for being foxy, like foxy Natasha Kaplinsky here, or Welsh, like Hugh Edwards, or tactless, like Kay Burley, who's become famous for asking the questions no one wants asked, such as in a shocking interview with the ex-wife of the Suffolk Strangler, in which she wondered...
5 murders in 6 weeks. Do you think if he'd had a better sex life, he wouldn't have done this?
Male news presenters are only allowed to come in one of 2 flavours, either a terrifying Darth Vader harbinger of doom...
Britain must take care to avoid becoming like Nazi Germany in the 1930s.
...or a Hidely Hay Ned Flanders type.
Seems that romance falters in the face of sleep deprivation.
Sure, we know that on this programme.
Oh yeah, that's it, Turnbull. Chuckle it up, you gigglesome f***. Female newsreaders, meanwhile, are mainly required to be young and attractive, especially if they're presenting as part of a duo. Then it seems the pair of them should vaguely resemble an ambitious pouting intern and her well-groomed sugar daddy. Although sometimes they come across as somewhat dysfunctional couples.
More pictures coming in today showing even more dramatic lava flows coming from the ground.
Flowing from the ground, the sun so helpfully pointed out, as opposed to somewhere else.
The weather. Here's Liam.
Hello.
Whenever I watch ITV Lunchtime News with Alistair Stewart and Katie Derham, I feel like I've been called into their office for some sort of bollocking.
Good afternoon, welcome to Thursday's Lunchtime News. From the centre of government to the social worker on the front line, there was a strong and clear message to everyone involved in protecting children in England. Get on with it.
What have I done? Still, the faces of British news may be stern, but at least they're sane. It's a different kettle of fish across the pond. We all know American news folk are better looking than ours. CBS News' Katie Couric's got so much MILF appeal, even the cameraman can't help zooming in for a closer look. They're also big characters, and with big characters comes big ego, and with big ego comes big squabble. Take this astonishing showdown between 2 elder newsmen.
So what do you want now?
Well, if I have to teach you how to be a reporter, Ollie, I'll do that later.
Oh, why don't you do that later, Jim? I think the lady expressed herself, and you're not here, you're there. Is there any question you'd like me to ask her?
No, I'll give you lessons on how to become a reporter later.
I'll
on.
give you some lessons on how to be an editor, because I was your boss once.
Yeah, you were, and are no longer. How did that happen?
American cable news is where the biggest characters of all reside.
Take silverhead Captain Serious Keith Olbermann here, the portentous liberal showman of MSNBC. He's got an absurd sense of drama, which made watching his show during the Bush era a bit like seeing a warm-hearted but angry suburban dad shout over the fence at the bloke next door who just happened to be president.
You're a fascist. Get them to print you a t-shirt with fascist on it.
Still, in terms of raw drama, the fair and balanced newsmen of dystopian future sci-fi satirical shouty porn sledgehammer channel Fox News win out every time.
Fox generally leans more to the right than a man who's just had his right leg blown off, and now Obama's in the White House, their commentators are getting to play the underdog at last.
If you believe this country is great, but nobody is fighting for you, let me tell you something. You don't need any guns for this revolution. You just need to stand up and find your voice. Come on, follow me.
Although it's a curious kind of underdoggery where they complain about liberal bias in the media one moment and then brag about their cable dominance the next. Now, to a dumb foreigner like me, all the Fox anchors look like characters in some 80s frat house comedy.
Oh, wait, dear.
For instance, Sean Hannity here would be cast as the uptight jock bully. Witness his cold ink-dot eyes, which could have been surgically transplanted from a particularly characterless dormouse, and his whiny, peevish demeanour.
We can't say enemy combatant. We can't say terrorist. We'll get to those things in a second. Now we're not going to use the term illegal immigrant?
The disapproving high school principal would have to be Bill O'Reilly, moralising about permissive society one minute.
The Woodstock generation thought it was cool to get stoned.
And chortling about lady bumps the next.
Their pitch is beach-friendly, if you know what I mean, and we believe they are patriots.
When there's no tits to dribble over, Bill kills time by boasting about his ratings.
Judging from our enormous ratings, I think we've been successful in doing that.
Or plugging his myriad books.
I do want to thank you all for keeping Bold fresh on the bestseller list for more than 6 months.
Or simply sitting there pulling a face like a tortoise that's learned to enjoy the stink of its own farts. But his primary characteristic is anger. Bill gets wound up by virtually anything to the left of Mussolini, hectoring and yowling like a wolf that's got his nuts caught on a coat hanger.
See, I'm more angry about it than you are.
So what about George Bush?
What about George Bush? He had nothing to do with it.
Although he's clearly not quite as furious as he used to be around 20 years ago when he was presenting a show called Inside Edition, which has become famous thanks to this notoriously unhinged outtake.
Yeah, I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out?
Sting is going to do. It's a video. Sting video.
What is
for credits?
I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay. In 5,
He's gonna blow.
4.
He looks psychotic.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a. I can't do it.
God, he needs a.
We'll do it live.
This guy needs a goddamn blowjob.
No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
That was fantastic, Bill. Real professionalism, real comfortable viewing, really warm, really connecting with the viewer there.
Still, if you think Bill O'Reilly's outrageous, you haven't seen anything yet.
This is recent Fox signing Glenn Beck, who at first glance looks like a welcoming, happy kind of chap. He effectively presents his commentary show in the style of a wacky neighbour from a bad sitcom. Although, actually, rather than a sitcom, this is more like an out-and-out variety show, replete with zany chuckles.
You think that ain't gonna happen?
Table-thumping conservative rhetoric.
I think this makes a good case to shoot people on the battlefield. Well, you got these guys. We can't keep them in prison because they're not technically terrorists, but they were in terrorist training camps. Were they fighting against us?
Well, they were in a terrorist training camp.
Yeah, I mean, we go in, you shoot them then.
And toe-tapping patriotic country music.
When I see people on my TV taking shots at Uncle Sam, I hope they always remember why they can. Because we'd all be speaking German or living under the flag of Japan. if it wasn't for the good Lord and the man.
Anyway, so far you're probably thinking, okay, it's extremely right-wing, but it's fairly sane. Yes, because Beck isn't just the face of news, he's a bona fide social crusader who started his own post-apocalyptic sounding 9/12 project aimed at bringing the nation together in a spirit of unity and hope and something and stuff.
This is the 9/12 Project.
Are you ready to be that person that you were that day after 9/11 on 9/12? I told you for weeks, you're not alone.
Now, I don't know if you've seen the superb and prophetic movie Network, in which Peter Finch played a news anchor who loses his mind and becomes a ranting, raving, rating smash after sinister bosses leave him on air.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
This is basically like that, but crazier, and starring Paul Giamatti in a blonde wig.
The real power to change America's course still resides with you. You are the secret. You're the answer. I'm sorry. I just love my country, and I fear for it. And it seems like the voices of our leaders and special interests and the media, they're surrounding us. It sounds intimidating.
Or mental.
The truth is, they don't surround us. We surround them. This is our country.
And now the weather from a talking oven glove with a face on it. Hello. And now here's our special verse correspondent, Tim Key, with a little poem about Gordon Brown and Barack Obama.
Which one's the glass one? Obama said. Huh? Brown grunted. Doesn't sound like Brown. This was all in the Oval Office. You probably know, but that's in America. Which eye's made of glass, man? This. Obama reached a finger into Brown's eye. His nail tapped the glass orb twice. Tappity-tap. There was a sort of a magical sound. Obama smiled. Brown blinked. You've turned it into a real eye, said Brown. Guilty, conceded Obama. You clever swine, says Brown. It's what I do, Obama. I'll take care of all the economic stuff. Brown. Swell. Obama. We'll be bloody unstoppable. Brown. So on. Politics.
Okay, time for a little interactive section of the show now. I've got a question for you, but I want you to lean in while I ask you it. Okay? The question is... Do you scare easily? Well, because I know I do, which is a bit of a hindrance, what with this being an age of global terror and everything. It's an age that juggles depressing televised updates about the situation in Iraq or Afghanistan with a bewildering number of rules brought in to help clamp down on our stupid terrorist-assisting civil liberties. That's why you need permission to protest within jizzing distance of Westminster, and you're not allowed to photograph policemen anymore, and why, under new legislation to be unveiled in the next 10 minutes, you won't be able to have a wee without the government training a camera on the very tip of your cock in case it's trying to piss in a subversive way. Yeah, wherever you look, terror colours the news with a deep, dark, depressing tint. Having officially kicked off in the wake of 9/11, the war on terror subsequently mutated into a crazy game of whack-a-mole as we were told the source of terror was this away, then that away, then this away again. First, we went into Afghanistan and hooray, we defeated the Taliban. The focus then shifted to Iraq and a ruddy Great War, which a less balanced voiceover than this might describe as an obscene and illegal blood-soaked folly predicated on megalomania and lies.
But now we're told Iraq's calmed down again, our troops are being withdrawn, and then we're told that the people of Iraq are optimistic about their future, which may or may not be connected with this famous act of closure. You know, say what you like about Bush, he is shit hot at dodging shoes. It's like he trained to do it for years at some secret CIA boot camp. Boot camp, you get it? Boot... Oh, f*** you. Anyway, things down at Iraq Alley are apparently also peaching. Even tourists are returning in a sort of tour of duty-free.
Tina, you bought a souvenir. Let's have a look.
It's been very difficult getting any postcards at all. I think the best bits were the Marsh Arabs and Ur of the Chaldees and Babylon.
Have you felt safe?
Oh, yes.
In fact, the war on terror has ended. Well, sort of. It's actually been rebranded as the Overseas Contingency Operation, which makes it sound less like an unending worldwide conflict and more like the sort of job description some little apprentice pipsqueak twat contestant might put on their CV. Anyway, all things considered, things should be less scary now, right? Wrong.
Because we're also told the situation in Afghanistan has become more dire than ever. The Afghan elections on August the 20th could prove to be a decisive moment. The Taliban are trying to create as much chaos as possible in advance of that date, probably in a bid to convince the population that the Allies can't stabilise things.
Even sending in Grant Mitchell to try and stare the Taliban to death didn't work.
I've just been hit. We're in the open.
If even Grant finds it harrowing and terrifying, what hope is there?
What are we going to send in next, Phil? On top of that, we're now told that neighbouring Pakistan is tilting towards chaos. You know, things aren't going well for the world in general when a news network feels the need to create a Mega Drive-style suicide bomber sprite that they can summon into being at the touch of a button. Anyway, in short, it seems the great game of whack-a-mole continues, with Afghanistan and the northwest of Pakistan now being treated as one collective mole. Still, if the politicians seem to be prepping the ground for yet more grim times and the public so distrusting of more or less anything we're told after the whole embarrassing Pack of Lives Iraq war business, well, maybe the news can fill the vacuum with balanced and insightful reporting. Yes, well, yes and no.
Sky News recently spent 3 days bringing us a revelatory Pakistan special featuring some brave, and I'm talking literally physically brave, reporting from Stuart Ramsey and Alex Crawford. There was also a surreal piece from Jeremy Thompson from the Marriott Hotel, which, following a previous attack, now consists of a cross between an active war zone on the outside and the Ritz on the inside.
Step through the checkpoints, the metal detector and the body search, and you're into a very different world. The Pakistani capital's most prestigious 5-star hotel.
Plus lucid analysis from their foreign affairs editor Tim Marshall.
See, I'm keen not to sit here and go, oh, Sky News, that's just terrible, isn't it? Because it isn't. The thing is that the nature of rolling news means that it's often packaged together with alarming airport thriller imagery.
We see endless looping replays of material taken from propaganda videos in which members of the Taliban were shown kicking an old look-in annual to death and shooting at an infidel circle.
And less mockably, footage of the Taliban beating people with sticks and clips of the moments just prior to beheadings and shootings. See, I am rational. I do know that Sharia law doesn't just consist of hitting people with sticks. It covers things like property and finance and so on. But it's the hitting people with sticks element that tends to stick in your mind a little when you watch things like this. Taken accumulatively, it only serves to fill me with a raw animal sense of panic. The end result, intentionally or otherwise, is to leave me in a state of helpless fear. I'd rather actively remain ignorant than be exposed to this. No wonder people want to ignore it and just watch anything else. That's what I want to do. Oh look, that's better. This is cheerful. It's a lovely pony.
Dusty's owners never came. Just
oh no, it's a lonely pony. Neighbours is always uplifting. This will be good. I love them. Oh shit, they've got guns.
The word hill is coming in as well. And I think
brilliant. Psychic, psychic, woo-woo, babble, bloody, reality-denying, bloody bullshit. How do you think the world got into this mess in the first place, you pricks? Oh, brilliant. Sylvester and Tweety Pie, I love them. Oh, no, wait a minute. It's one of the new ones. It's shit and awful. Oh, no, not you.
We're being put through a refiner's fire. Some glorious miracles are going to happen in our life. I really, truly believe that.
Oh, God, he's the worst thing in the world.
And we're back here again. The circle's complete. This is horrible. Everything's horrible. There is no escape. Oh dear. Oh, wait a minute. He's good looking.
Now, are you finding the world's news too scary and depressing to bear?
Yes.
Do you tune in and simply think, oh dear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you do, because I am you dickhead. Dickhead.
All right.
Anyway, we've got a short film now on that very subject from Adam Curtis. Would you like to see it?
Go on then.
Yeah, I thought you might, but before I show it to you, I've been asked to point something out in case you mistake views for facts. The following is a short film by the documentary maker Adam Curtis, the man behind The Power of Nightmares, The Century of the Self and The Trap. It represents his personal and some might say controversial viewpoint. It's therefore his viewpoint, it's his viewpoint, it's his viewpoint, it's a man's viewpoint. It's not a big bunch of facts carved into a concrete block by a fact computer, all right? It's one man's viewpoint. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Good. Here we go.
Everyone knows that television news can be boring. That's because it's often about politics, which can be very dull.
This unprecedented aid for Scottish mining, and no one else is getting it, comes at a time when the indicators show some difficulties for Labour in Scotland.
Book him, Dano.
But these days there is another problem with watching the news. Night after night, we are shown pictures of terrible things which we feel we can do nothing about. Images of civil wars, massacres and starving children, which leave us feeling helpless and depressed, and to which the only response is, oh dear. There is a name for this. It's called oh-dearism. And this is the story of the rise of oh-dearism in television news. It began with the rise of the counterculture in the 1960s. The radicals believed that all politics was corrupt because it always involved power.
Bring the police. Send for the police quickly. Cut your hair.
The radicals wanted to find a new way to connect directly with the dispossessed in the world, bypassing politicians. Their chance came in 1968 with the Biafran Civil War in Africa. Western politicians were doing nothing as thousands starved. So a group of radicals began a campaign to rescue the dying children. Propaganda films were made that portrayed the conflict dramatically as a new Holocaust. Celebrities held 48-hour vigils, and television news eagerly covered it. And then Blue Peter held an appeal for Biafra, and the response astonished everyone.
We asked for 144,000 parcels, and you'll never guess just how many we got. We got 1,444,000, and that is 10 times more than our actual target.
What Biafra began reached its high point in 1985 with Live Aid. Michael Burke's news reports of the Ethiopian famine had shocked the West. Bob Geldof then used television to create an extraordinary event of global altruism. It showed that we together could do more to save the world than our ineffectual and corrupted politicians.
Soon we'll be learning, and the lesson today is how to die.
And it also made us feel good about ourselves. Those running Live Aid thought that they had transcended the corruption of politics. But actually, the money they raised may have had its own corrupting and destructive effects in Africa. The dictator of Ethiopia, Colonel Mengistu, was fighting a civil war. And some have claimed that he used Western aid to fund the war and to prolong it for a further 6 years. Médecins Sans Frontières has said that this may have led to as many deaths as were actually saved by the aid. But this wasn't reported because it was too complicated, and it wouldn't have made us feel good about ourselves.
Go on.
Then, in 1989, the West won the Cold War. The old political story of left versus right was finished. But reporters still needed a grand, simple story about the world, into which all the chaotic events and fragments of stuff that happen every day could be fitted. And waiting in the wings was the hippie counterculture view of the world, a view which saw everything as a struggle between innocent individuals and corrupt political systems. and TV news embraced it eagerly. And it worked. From the glorious revolutions in Eastern Europe, to the brave students in Tiananmen Square, through to the plucky Bosnians in the horror of Sarajevo, television news told a story of noble individuals bravely standing up against bad political systems. But this simple battle between good and evil couldn't last, and it finally cracked back where it first began, in Africa. In 1994, the Hutus massacred millions of Tutsis in Rwanda. In the wake of the massacres, millions of refugees flooded into the Congo. Western aid workers and television crews also flooded in to help the innocent victims. But they soon discovered that many of them weren't innocent at all. They were the evil Hutus who had killed millions of the Tutsis.
When people crossed the border, we all knew very well that among them there were murderers. There were people that we're helping. Every time we give out food, every time we give health services, we know that among the people that we're helping, there are murderers.
Then the Tutsis invaded the camps to get their revenge. But instead of behaving like good victims, they too carried out terrible massacres. And a horrific war began, in which 4.5 million people died. And everyone was evil, even the children. And that had a terrible effect on television news. Because when there weren't any good or innocent people to support any longer, the kind of news reporting invented in the 90s made no sense. Because the news had given up reporting them as political struggles, it meant there was now no way to understand why these terrible events were happening. And instead, political conflicts around the world, from Darfur to Gaza, are now portrayed to us as simple illustrations of the mindless cruelty of the human race, about which nothing can be done, and to which the only response is, oh dear. It's like living in the mind of a depressed hippie.
Well, that's about all we've got time for this week. And what does that mean?
What?
On the teleprompter, whatever the words mean. To play us out, what does that mean?
Play us out, it's the link.
Well, like the end of the show?
Yeah, it's the end of the show.
Right, OK. All right, go. All right.
OK.
Well, that's about all we've got time for this week. And now to... Well, it doesn't... Look, I can't do this, all right?
Do you want to just...
All right, look, we'll do it live. All right, it, we'll do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live, all right? Thing sucks! Well, that's about all we've got time for this week. And now to play us out, it's the end theme music. Thanks for watching. Good night.
And we're sticking with the newsreaders next tonight, as it's a brave new world for Emily Maitlis. She's introduced to the Queen of Country and The Godfather, amongst other things, in I've Never Seen Star Wars. Next.